The evening sun was melting into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and sorrow. The narrow dirt path that led to the village square shimmered in the dying light, and on that path walked Ravi, his hands rough from years of labor, his shirt faded, his sandals barely holding together. But despite his worn appearance, his eyes held a quiet fire, the kind of determination that only those who've tasted struggle understand. He wasn't born with wealth. When his father passed away, Ravi had been only 16. Yet, he refused to give up. He took up odd jobs, learned to repair machines, worked in the fields, and saved every rupee he could. And now, after years of back-breaking labor, he had come to the moment he'd dreamt of for years. The day he would ask Mira to marry him. Mira, the girl with laughter like the first rain, eyes that glowed like the moon on a dark night. She was the daughter of the village headman, known for her beauty and grace. Ravi had loved her silently for years. They had spoken a few times, brief exchanges at the well, stolen glances during festivals, and a few letters exchanged secretly under the banyan tree. To him, she wasn't just a dream, she was his reason for hope. That evening, he walked to her courtyard, holding a small box. The villagers watched him with mixed expressions, some amused, some pitying, and some whispering behind his back. "The poor boy thinks he can marry the headman's daughter," they muttered. But Ravi ignored them all. When he reached Mira's house, she was sitting on the veranda, dressed in a soft pink sari, her hair braided neatly. She looked up as he approached, surprise flickering across her face. "Ravi, what are you doing here?" she asked softly. "I've worked hard all these years. Mira, I may not have riches now, but I have dreams. I have plans. I want to build something of my own, something that lasts. And I want you to be by my side while I do it." He opened the small box, revealing the ring. For a moment, silence filled the air, heavy and expectant. Mira looked at the ring, then at Ravi. Her expression changed, from surprise to confusion, and then to something colder. "Ravi," she said slowly, glancing around to make sure no one was watching. "You shouldn't have come here like this." "Why not?" he asked, a faint smile still on his lips. "I mean every word I said. I'll work day and night to give you the life you deserve. Just say you'll wait for me." Her voice turned sharp. "Wait for you? Ravi, do you even hear yourself? You think love is enough to fill an empty stomach? You think dreams can build a house? My father would never agree to this." Ravi's heart sank, but he stepped closer. "I know I'm poor now, Mira, but I won't always be. I just need time." She cut him off, her tone now filled with irritation. "Time? You'll spend your whole life chasing dreams while others live them. I can't throw away my future for someone who can't even afford proper shoes. You're a good man, Ravi, but you belong to a different world." Her words hit him harder than any blow. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Ravi felt his throat tighten. He wanted to shout, to explain, to make her see that love wasn't about wealth, but when he looked at her eyes, he saw nothing but pity. "Mira," he whispered, "so all that mattered to you was money?" She looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, Ravi, but yes." Something inside him broke that day. He closed the ring box slowly and nodded. "I understand," he said quietly. "You've made your choice. I'll make mine." The laughter behind him faded into the evening air, but one sentence kept echoing in his mind: "You're too poor." That night, Ravi didn't sleep. He sat outside his small hut, staring at the stars. The world that once seemed cruel now seemed like a challenge. He thought of his father, how he had died poor but honest, and how people had forgotten his name because he had nothing to show for it. Ravi clenched his fists. "If money is what they worship," he murmured, "then I'll build an empire so great, they'll have no choice but to kneel." He left the village the next morning with nothing but a small bag, the ring box, and a heart burning with determination. For years, nobody heard from him. Rumors spread. Some said he'd gone to the city to work in factories. Others said he'd joined a construction company. But Mira moved on. She married the son of a wealthy landowner and lived in comfort. She would occasionally hear whispers of Ravi, the boy who once loved her, but was too poor to be worthy. 5 years passed, then 10. The air was filled with the roar of engines and the whispers of curiosity. The villagers gathered, squinting against the sun to see who it was. Out of the lead car stepped a tall man in a crisp suit, his presence commanding, his face familiar yet transformed. It was Ravi. His once tattered hands now wore a golden watch, and his name, unknown years ago, was now printed in newspapers as one of the youngest self-made businessmen in the region. He had built factories, given jobs to thousands, and risen from nothing. The same villagers who had once laughed now stared in awe. Mira's house. She stood at the gate, older now, her face pale as she recognized him. He smiled, not with arrogance, but with calm dignity. "Do you remember what you said to me, Mira?" he asked quietly. "That I was too poor?" She nodded, shame clouding her eyes. Ravi looked around at the gathered villagers and said, "I wasn't angry that day because you rejected me. I was angry because I let money define my worth. But I learned something. Poverty is only a phase. Character is permanent. The poor man you rejected became the man who now employs half this village." And as Ravi turned to leave, he looked once more at the sky, the same sun setting over the same village. But this time, it didn't burn with shame. It glowed with victory. He whispered to himself, "Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right." And with that, he walked away, not to seek revenge, but to continue building the life he had once been denied. The morning mist still clung to the fields when the news spread through the village like wildfire. Ravi Kumar, the millionaire industrialist, was coming home. Children ran through the lanes shouting his name. Elders shook their heads in disbelief, and the same people who once mocked him now swept their porches clean, hoping he would pass by their doors. 10 years had rewritten every story, and this one had come full circle. The engines purred like lions tamed by discipline. He sat in the back seat of the first car, silent, looking out at the familiar landscape, its leaves thicker, like time itself had been watching his journey. The headman, once proud and distant, now rushed out to greet him with folded hands. "Ravi Beta, we are honored." Ravi stepped out, his expression calm, humble. "Please, uncle, I'm still the same Ravi." But he wasn't. The boy who once carried a broken dream now carried the weight of success. Factories, schools, hospitals, all bearing his name. His eyes were sharper, but his smile was softer. The villagers felt it. This was not a man who had returned for revenge, but one who had conquered himself. He spent the morning walking through the village, speaking with farmers, donating funds to rebuild wells, and setting up scholarships for children. Cameras clicked, but Ravi's gaze was elsewhere, fixed on a certain house under the neem tree. By noon he stood at its gate again, the same gate before which his heart had once been shattered. Mira stood there, older now, her silk sari dulled by time. Her husband had lost most of his wealth in bad investments. When she saw Ravi, her breath caught. "You came back," she whispered. "I promised myself I would," he replied quietly. "But not for what you think." They walked to the veranda, the same one where she had rejected him years ago. The air was thick with memory. For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, Mira broke the silence. "I was foolish," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought wealth meant happiness. I thought I'd never have to look back. But every night when I saw your name in the papers, I saw the face of the man I turned away. I'm sorry, Ravi. We all make choices, Mira. You chose comfort. I chose struggle. Life rewarded us both with what we truly valued." Tears welled in her eyes. "Do you hate me?" He smiled faintly. "If I hated you, I would have never succeeded. You were my greatest teacher. Your rejection taught me that pain can either break you or build you. I chose to build." The villagers had begun to gather again, whispering, watching. Among them were the young men and women who once mocked him, now bowing respectfully. The headman stepped forward. "Ravi," he said, voice shaking, "forgive us. We didn't see your worth. You've brought pride to our village. Tell us how we can make it right." Ravi turned toward them, his voice steady and commanding. "There's nothing to make right. I didn't come for apologies. I came to give back. For years, this village suffered because we believed money decided a person's value. No more. I'm starting a foundation here to help every young dreamer who's told they're too poor. No, one will walk away from their dreams like I almost did." The crowd erupted in applause, some crying openly. But then something unexpected happened. The headman The richest families, even the elders, began to kneel, one by one, before him. "Stand up," Ravi said, alarmed. "No," the headman said, tears streaming down his face. "We kneel not to your money, but to your spirit. You showed us what true wealth means." The sight was overwhelming. The same place where he had once been humiliated was now the ground of his greatest victory. And yet he felt no pride, only peace. Mira stepped closer, her voice soft. "You've become what every person dreams of becoming, Ravi. But tell me, are you happy?" He looked at her gently. "Happiness isn't something you find at the end, Mira, it's something you carry through the struggle. I'm happy because I didn't let pain turn me bitter. This belonged to the man you once knew. I'm leaving it here as a memory of who we were, not as revenge, but as closure." As he turned to leave, the villagers formed a path, bowing their heads. Children cheered his name. Elders blessed him. The same dirt road that once carried his shame now carried his triumph. At the end of the lane, Ravi stopped and looked back one last time. The sunset glowed over the rooftops. He whispered, more to himself than anyone else, "The world kneels only to those who never kneel before failure." Then he stepped into his car, the doors closed, and the convoy rolled away toward the horizon, leaving behind a legend that would be told for generations. And somewhere in that village, an old ring gleamed faintly, in the fading light, a reminder that sometimes rejection isn't the end of love, but the beginning of destiny. 10 years after the day the village knelt before him, Ravi Kumar returned once more, not as a businessman seeking respect, but as a teacher returning home. The factories that bore his name were running on their own. His foundation had spread across districts, yet he felt something missing. All the wealth, the applause, the awards, none of it compared to the quiet satisfaction he had felt the morning he built his first well for his village. He stepped out of his car, into the same square that had witnessed both his humiliation and his triumph. Children now studied in a bright, newly built school across the road, the Ravi Kumar Academy for Dreamers. Their laughter filled the air, like a promise that the future would never again be caged by poverty. The old headman had passed away, and a new council now ran the village. Mira lived a simple life in the same house. Her husband had died a few years earlier. She spent most of her days teaching little girls to read. When she heard that Ravi had come again, she hurried to meet him, not as the woman who once rejected him, but as a friend who now understood the man he had become. "Ravi," she said softly, "you've turned this place into something unrecognizable." He smiled. "Not me, Mira, them." He pointed toward the schoolyard where dozens of children were raising flags. They had painted themselves. "They'll build a world where no one has to beg for a chance." Mira nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "Do you ever think about the past?" "Every day," he said, "but not with regret, with gratitude, because without that pain, I wouldn't have known what truly matters." That evening, the entire village gathered under lanterns for the inauguration of a new training center. Farmers, shopkeepers, mothers, and children filled the air with laughter and music. "My friends," he began, "there was a time when I believed success was the end of the journey, but I've learned it's only the beginning. True success is when your light helps others find theirs." He gestured toward a group of young men and women standing behind him, graduates of his scholarship program. "These are the first engineers, teachers, and doctors this village has ever produced. They are the real heroes. They'll carry our dream forward." Applause thundered through the night. Some of the elders wept openly. Mira watched from the front row, her heart swelling with pride for the boy she once dismissed as poor. When the ceremony ended, Ravi slipped away from the noise and walked toward the old banyan tree. He sat beneath it, the same place where he had once waited for Mira's letters. The air smelled of earth and rain. He pulled a small wooden box from his pocket, the box that had once held the silver ring. Inside it now lay a folded note, "Never forget why you started." As he stared at it, footsteps approached. "Sir," the boy said shyly, "I wanted to thank you. My father says you were poor once. Like us, is that true?" Ravi chuckled. "Yes, poor in money, rich in dreams." The boy grinned. "Then maybe one day I can be like you." Ravi placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't try to be like me, be better." The world needs builders, not followers. Promise me you'll help others climb when you rise. I promise, the boy said, his eyes glowing with determination. The wind carried voices from the celebration, a song of gratitude. Laughter, the rhythm of a community reborn. For the first time in years, he felt completely at peace. Without planning it, they began to kneel just as they had years before, but this time it wasn't worship. It was unity. They placed their hands on the ground and vowed aloud, "We will never again let poverty define our worth." Ravi raised his hands. "Stand up, my friends. Never kneel before anyone, not even me. Kneel only before your dreams and the work it takes to make them real." A hush fell over the crowd, followed by thunderous applause. Mira stepped forward, holding a garland of jasmine. "For the boy who taught us how to rise," she said, placing it gently around his neck. He bowed his head slightly. "For the village that taught me what rising truly means." At dawn, as Ravi's car rolled away for the last time, he looked out the window and saw the children marching to school. The world might remember him as a businessman, but the village would remember him as something greater, the man who turned pain into purpose,